Hi, everybody. Diana here at Heartfelt Creative. Thanks for joining me for this episode, I guess you could say, of my new video series called Good Gadgets. What are good gadgets? Well, if you're like me and whether you've been stitching for over 5 decades like I have, or you're brand new to stitching, sewing or quilting specifically, there are a lot of great tools out there. And sometimes we can't always find information on them. And sometimes all the information we can find is directly from the manufacturer. And I'm not saying anything against the manufacturers because it is in their best interest to make a great product for us all to use and to tell us how great it is. But sometimes it's even more helpful if we find out about a tool from just an average stitcher like you and I, where we can go and try it and see it being tried by someone who didn't make it, who doesn't know maybe the ins and outs of it as well as the manufacturer does. And that way we can also sometimes, I know a lot of my stitchy friends are brilliant. They come up with ways to use some tools that I would have never thought of. Occasionally I come up with something, but sometimes, you might come up with something. You might have been using a tool that I show here on Good Gadgets, and you might want to pop a comment in and say, hey, did you know you could also use such and such a gadget for in this way as well? Happy to have you comment on that kind of stuff. Perfectly fine. I will try and let you know where you can find these gadgets. And if I know of alternate ways to use them, I'll let you know that too. That's Good Gadgets. So this is just my second installment. I hope you enjoy it. Please leave a comment if you like it. If you like it, please subscribe and please click that little bell there. It will help you get notifications when I put more content up here on my page. You can also catch all my Patches and Pieces videos on here, which are my Monday live events that I do on Facebook. I do a video with them and we talk specifically about how to piece quilting blocks, all different kinds of quilting blocks. So you can check that out here on my channel too. And there are some other videos. So if you like that, please subscribe. I'd love to have you join us. So Good Gadgets. This week, I have 2 gadgets that I want to talk about. I'll call them tools. I call them gadgets because I'm a gadgety person. I come from a long line of gadgety people. My father, my grandfather, on and on and on. So we just call everything that is a tool kind of a gadget, no matter what it's used for. In fact, I like to go to the regular old hardware store and look for things that I can use in my sewing and my quilting. Someday, maybe I'll do a Good Gadgets and show you some of the things that I've come up with and whether they really worked or not, because sometimes they don't. Okay, so this week, I've got 2 items for us to look at and talk about real quick. This first one is called, before I forget, let me just tell you that this video is always here on YouTube, but you can also catch it over on my Facebook page, which is Heartfelt Creative with Diana. Let me just bring up there. So Heartfelt Creative with Diana. You can catch me over there. You can catch other announcements, lives, information about upcoming workshops that I'm teaching. Right now, all of my workshops are online, but I am available probably starting in June to start doing live workshops and things in person again, because I'm fully vaccinated now. I hope all of you are too, or soon will be. It's a healthy thing for all of us to do. So, but that's where you can catch me on Facebook. Oops, there we go. Still learning some of this technology stuff, aren't we all? So the first gadget I want to talk to us about this time is called the strip stick. What in the world is that, right? The strip stick. Now, I'll tell you right now that the only place I found the strip stick was at a local fabric shop. I live in Illinois, and the fabric shop that I go to is Thimbles Quilts in Lockport, Illinois. They have these. I bet you can find them in a lot of other fabric shops in your area. I didn't look on Amazon, but you could look there too. I often find tools and things that I need there if I can't find them through my local shop or something like that. So this one's called the strip stick. What in the world is a strip stick? Well, I have one. Mine is the mid size. This comes in 3 sizes. It comes in one that is about, I don't know, about 10 to 12 inches, about this size. Then it comes in this size. You can hardly see it on my screen fully. Here we go. It's 22.5 inches. And then they make another one that's really long. I think it's like 40 some inches, which when you find out what this is for, you'll understand why a really long one of these works well. So this stick, can you see how it's got a half, it's kind of like a half moon shape? Can you really tell that? So it is a semicircle or half moon shaped piece of wood in here, right? You can hear it. It's covered, it feels like it's covered with a little bit of batting or something like that. And it has a really nice heavy muslin outer coat to it, or outer protective cover. The cover doesn't come off, okay? It's all one piece. Comes in a long tube like this, and I keep mine in my tube over in another area when I'm not using it. And what it's for is to help us with our seams, when we're pressing our seams, when we're doing any kind of sewing really, but really helpful with quilting. I'm going to bring my pressing mat and my little iron over, and I'm going to flip my camera now so that you can see this. There we go. Great. Actually, I think, let me see here. I think I can bring up my larger pressing mat. I think that would be even better. There we go. Now, in the instruction sheet that comes with the strip stick, it tells you what size stick they recommend for what size piece of fabric. So anything that is selvage to selvage strips, long seams or sashing, they recommend, yeah, the big one, the 45 incher. If you're going to do anything 22.5 inches or little, like a fat quarter, they call this the fat quarter stick, this size. And then there's an, oh, it says the mini one is 18 inches, for 18 inches or smaller. I don't think that stick was 18 inches though. I think it was more like 12 inches at the most, but apparently they say you can still use fabric up to 18 inches with it. That comes in their directions. I bought the 22.5 inch one and I use it. I've been using it for all sizes. If I've got a long seam, I just kind of, you know, travel it across there. So it does tell us that we always want to use it on top of a pressing mat or an ironing board, wherever we do our pressing and our ironing, because this is going to get warm. You don't want this falling off onto your cutting mat where it'll melt or anything like that. So I'm going to bring over, I've sewn a little half square triangle and I haven't flipped it open yet, right? So there's my half square triangle. So let's talk about pressing for a second. There are 2 basic ways we press our seams in quilting and then sewing. There we go. Oops. One is to flip your darkest fabric, we'll call the red the dark one, open, and what we call pressing to the dark side. And what that means is if you press your darkest fabric over this way, when it's done, you're not going to see this fabric through it right here on the seam line. If I do it where I do my lighter side, now this is a pretty thick, nicely woven fabric, so you don't see this through this one, but say this piece here was solid white or something really light, you could easily see this red fabric through it right here along the seam line. So that's why we say press to the dark side. That way you don't see that fabric underneath. It's just a nice way. In all honesty, it doesn't matter as far as how your piece, will your piece stay together? It doesn't affect that. But what it does affect is the overall look. So you're not getting shadows and stuff. So I'm not here to tell you that doing your seams flipped and to the dark side is the right way, or what I hear a lot of people saying these days is opening your seams, leaving your seams open. Now, why would you leave your seams open? So your seams open. I will be honest and tell you, I'm not an open seam person. I am a flip to the dark side person. There are very specific reasons that you flip to the dark side. Also in regard to, in the past, when things were hand stitched, when you flipped open this way, it gave you a slightly stronger seam because fabrics weren't quite as nice as they are now. But now, like I said, it's really more for so that you don't see fabric through it. Also, doing it this way, you're less likely to get any of your batting to come through. If you use a low loft batting, that probably won't be a problem anyway, but just in case, it could be, and if you use a polyester high loft batting, that's when you tend to see it through your stitches, your batting through on your seam lines more. But I'm getting off topic. The other way to do it is to open your seams. The only thing I suggest when people open their seams is that you use a shorter stitch length, okay? Instead of like a normal 2 to 2.5, use like a 1.8, that's all. So anyway, I'm not here to tell you which is right or which is wrong. I'm here to show you the strip stick. And so the other thing the strip stick does is allow you to press your seams open. So let's take a look and see how this goes. So if you're going to press it to the dark side, we'll just open our piece up right like that, bring our iron over and press. And you're on that little bit of a circle. But oh my goodness, look at what a nice flat seam that gave me. Isn't that super? Super nice and flat. Now, let's say that I want to press my seams open. So we're going to do that from the back side of my half square triangle. Keeps that seam right. Whoops, I messed it up down here, but that was me. That little piece that didn't open was me. I didn't get my iron in there. But look here where I got my iron in. Wow, again, such a nice flat seam. So this strip stick, oh, and it does stay pretty warm. This strip stick is really nice for getting those really nice flat seams, whether you do them open or closed. I suspect, I don't know for sure, I'm gonna just put a little starch alternative there and repress this flat. I suspect that I will use this more for, there are some times when things have to be pressed open. Pressing open really helps you reduce bulk in your seams. And sometimes, especially with a really small project, I find that occasionally I will press something open. I suspect I'll use the strip stick for that scenario. I have not figured out what else to use it for yet. There may not be anything else you can use it for, but it is really good at what it does. So that is the strip stick. And like I said, this one is a 22.5-inch one, which is roughly about my pressing mat is, I think, 23 or 24 inches wide. So it's just about that wide. So I give this a thumbs up, especially if you are someone who likes to press your seams open on your squares. So this one, thumbs up for sure. Now, the next product I want to talk to you about are these little items called seam rollers. Again, you know, we're always searching for that product that will help us get a flat seam. There's seam conditioning pens. There's the tailor's clapper. There's the strip stick I just showed you. And here we go, seam rollers. Okay, this one, I'll tell you, is by the Clover Company. You can get these at fabric shops. I know you can get these on Amazon as well, because that's where I got mine. And then there are wooden seamers. This one is fully plastic. The roller's plastic, the handle's plastic. This one, the wheel, the roller is wood, the handle is wood. What the handle is made out of, I don't think is too important. And this metal part, you know, is just what's holding the wood. What's important about this is what this roller is made from, in my opinion. And although these are meant for the same thing, I like to use them in different ways. So let's just say, let's bring back my half square triangle again. And let's just say I wanted to open it up and the directions say just finger press. We'll see, when I just finger press, I don't know, you know, I could get it, but then I'm running my fingernail right. This little one from Clover that's plastic, if I roll it on my seam, it doesn't fully give me a flat seam. I just can't seem to make it give me a fully flat seam, but it does do a pretty good job of finger pressing that open. And I like this for that reason. However, if I want a really good flat seam, can do this a couple of ways. I can, the wooden one. The wooden one's a little heavier. You can get a little more pressure on it. And there's a fairly decent seam. Now I'm gonna press with my iron. And I'm gonna roll my seam roller right over it. And I'm gonna flip it over. I'm going to roll my seam roller right over it. This wood, just like the tailor's clapper, is helping to flatten that seam, and it's helping to absorb the heat and cool that seam down so it doesn't start to come back up on you. So for getting, and look at how nice and flat that turned out to be. So for getting a really good flat seam and cooling it off quickly, I like this wooden one. If I just want to do like a light finger pressing, I like this little plastic one. I can't tell you what the brand on the wooden one was, but there's lots of wooden ones out there. I'm not sure a brand would make a big difference. This plastic one, like I said, is Clover, and I think it's the only plastic one that I've seen. I could be wrong. There could be others out there. I do like this Clover handle. It is very ergonomic. Against my pinky and my ring finger is back here, and then my middle finger in here. So it gives me a nice grip when I'm using it. So I do like this handle in that regard. So again, two products that do the same thing, but can be used slightly differently, depending. You could do just a light finger press with this one, but I kind of like, this one is very lightweight. And one thing that I'm always concerned about is I've had carpal tunnel surgery on both of my hands. And so I'm always concerned about repetitive stress. And so with this one, it's really super duper lightweight, right? So when I'm doing this, I'm not really pushing, I'm not really putting stress on my hand. With this wooden one, it's definitely heavier, quite a bit heavier. And, you know, I've got to grip it and really do that. So I think for me, I like using them both. Technically, you only would need one of them, but I wanted to show you both because I have them both and I use them both in that slightly different way. So let me bring my camera back. Okay, so those are the two gadgets / tools that I wanted to show you in this episode of Good Gadgets. And I think they're both great. I'm glad that I have all three of those, the strip stick and the clover plastic seam roller and the wooden seam roller. I'm glad I have them, and I use these I use them every time I do piecing. I'm gonna turn my little iron off here so it doesn't fall. I've had it fall and melt my standing floor mat here before, so we don't want that to happen. So I'm glad. Price-wise, this 22.5-inch one was $12, which I thought was reasonable. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a reasonable price. I don't recall. I think I might have paid $12 for this one, and I might have paid $12 for this one as well. I don't think there was a big price difference between these two. But look around. If you're looking for best prices, look around. Check local quilt shops, check fabric stores, check online to see, where you can get your best buy that way. Alrighty, folks, that's Good Gadgets for this week. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it might have helped you out a little bit. And I'll be seeing you soon with another episode of Good Gadgets. Until then, go sew the world beautiful. Bye now.